How we doing today? Diary of a Horrible Trader. So, let's get into it. You're probably going to want to speed this up. I'm not that fast of a talker in general. About 9 months ago, I started this journey. And been taking a long time to find my niche. And you want to know what's interesting is just what I hope to gain from this channel is, first off, maybe a niche market. There is a lot of videos about people telling you everything that you need to know about how to trade. And some of it's about what not to do, but at the end of the day, it's a lot of people bloviating about how much they actually know. And it's informational, it's boring, isn't it? So I was hoping to actually show you what not to do by actually taking horrible trades and having you guys laugh at me a little bit, you know? Another thing I want to gain from this channel is just, entertainment. I think that the world's moving into a stage where we're all just going to be entertaining each other. And so if you can get entertainment out of me having some horrible trades, then that's great, And I feel like it's so disingenuous. Everybody knows that 95% of traders lose, right? Everybody knows that statistic. Then how come 95% of the videos on YouTube are winners? Do you ever ask yourself that question? It seems like bullshit to me. Maybe I'm crazy. So I figured maybe you guys can watch as one of you, the bad traders, actually shows everybody the bad trades, the bad news, the bad times leading up into the good times. Now, I actually think that I'm not doing so bad anymore, but I've been saying that also for the last 4 months. I haven't been losing lots of money like I was when I first started, but I haven't really been gaining any either. The past 4 months have basically just been a bounce along the bottom for my account. I dropped 40% of my entire account. It took a long time. It took 8 months. I was not one of those people that was YOLOing, and I just had consistently bad trades. Really bad over time. And you could probably already guess what that's from. The slow attritional loss. Well, you can guess what that's from. Not having integrity. Even if I did pick an actual trade plan, I wouldn't stick to it. I would let my emotions get in the way all the time. I would let all of the emotions get in the way. Greed, fear of missing out, fear of loss, fear of everything. And it's funny because I went into this game thinking I was one of those people that was kind of like a robot. When I'm dealing with other people, I seem like a robot. I seem uncaring. I seem analytical. I would define myself as those things, quite frankly, so I thought I was made for this. I thought I was made for literally just analyzing chart patterns and making money. I found out that my emotions get way more in the way of me being able to do things than I thought they would. I'll give you an example. Maybe you guys can identify with this. In this trade, which is trading, in this type of job, you don't have a boss. And, there's some people out there. There's a guy named Jared with Live Traders, and he's got his own YouTube channel. And I've followed all of these YouTubers, of course. And I checked them out, and I learned some different things that I thought was important from each one. Do you know what I mean? And he talks about how you don't have a boss keeping you, to, actually do the right thing, to have risk management, to, make sure you're not costing the company money. You don't have anyone above you to make sure that you're not making drastically poor decisions and then punishing you, with fear of firing, the threat of firing, the threat of, repercussions, that you don't have anybody telling you that you're doing wrong. And then when you know you're doing wrong, you actually know yourself that you're doing wrong, you don't have the punishment of being fired, looming over your head. You know what I mean? So it's very difficult to get yourself out of this mindset that you need to hurry up and make money. You know, you got to try to hurry up and, you know, get rich quick. And what's funny is when I first started doing this, I wasn't actually looking for getting rich quick. I mean, I was looking at a 5-year plan to get rich. Like, that's not quick when you think about it. Like, and I was just looking for my first mill in 5 years. I wasn't looking like, do you know what I mean? Like, when I first got into this, I was thinking, dude, if I'm looking at the way that these charts look, and knowing even just a little bit that I know about how this trading works and how these charts look and how I analyze these charts and these patterns, I thought I could at least squeeze somewhere between 5 to 15% gains out of the stock market every month. Now you're like, well, that's kind of a lot, but is it? Like, I was looking at some of these charts and I'm like, I could accidentally make 5%. Couldn't you? Accidentally. Just, it's trading in a range. Throw your money in there. Wait till just let it hit 5% gain and get out. Like, you just accidental money. And if I wanted to stick to a trading plan like that, I probably could have done that. I was looking, I was like, I could do that. And maybe I could have, but I didn't stick to that plan. I didn't stick to that plan at all. Just get a guaranteed 5% gain out of a trade and get out. Get a guaranteed 5% out of it, because you know it's trading in a range of like 30%, or all you need is 5% out of that. You just get out. Don't be greedy. Yeah, okay. So you don't have anybody telling you not to do the wrong thing. And then when you start doing the wrong thing, you don't have any real punishment aside from losing some of your money for doing the wrong thing. And it hurts. And the funny part about that is like, I'm the kind of person that before we got into this believed in never gambling. And it might actually make it much harder for me as a person to do this, because technically, no matter how analytical you get down the road and how good you get at this, you are still technically making a gamble. You are taking money that you have that you need in your life, and you are betting it on something, no matter how many, and hope, you know, expecting it to go up. And now, I've always kind of compared this to the concept of card counting, okay? Obviously, in the long run, the house is going to win against your average gambler at the casino. But then the card counters come in, and they don't have some magic stuff they're doing where they're actually cheating or rigging the deck. That's how come it can't be illegal to be a card counter. All they can do is threaten to break your legs after you make your first $100,000, and they just tell you never to come back again, because it's not illegal to count the cards. All it is you using a mathematical formula that you, in your head, to increase the probability that the next card's the one you want. And if it isn't the one you want, and you know that probability, you just bet less. Bet big on the ones you know will win. Bet small on the ones you know won't. So I had nothing helping me stick to the plan. Nothing. And that desire to make money as fast as humanly possible is always ever present. And then when you start losing a little bit of your money, because you don't want to be a gambler, and you want to like learn to card count first, I guess. And it's like, I did a little bit, like very, very short term, I did the paper trading to make sure I didn't lose a lot of money. But at the end of the day, I was like, I know I'm not really going to start to defeat my issues with emotions on it unless I start feeling those emotions. So I only did paper trading for like a couple weeks, and then I was like, okay, it's time to get in. And you want to know what's funny is that going forward after that, it's kind of a good thing that I did and just start jumping in, because I haven't had any issues with chart analysis at all. I was right about that. I'm great at math. I'm great at analysis. Great at reading charts. What I'm not good at is being patient. So far, I found that out anyway. I'm not good at being patient. I'm not good at sticking to my plans. And I'm not good at managing my emotions when dealing with when things aren't going your way, as you're making horrible mistakes. Because you're new to this and you think you got it all figured out the gate, and then you realize very quickly that you don't, and it actually makes you even more fearful. Because you went from the fear of missing out to the fear of loss, you know? And it's like, now you're worried that you're never going to make any money, that you'll never figure this stuff out. And you go through little depressive stages where you're wondering if you can do it, all that kind of stuff. Full disclosure, I'm not the kind of person that likes to be depressed in any way, shape, or form, or believes in wallowing in self-pity in any way. So if I had moments of depression, we're talking like 10 minutes. And then after that, I'm like, okay, well, time to get your shit together and get back to work. There's no sense bitching about it, But anyway, I figured that there's a lot of people out there that can identify with these things, that this is a tough gig. Like I said, you don't have a boss telling you that you got to get your shit together. You either have to literally follow the plan and know that the plan is correct and be certain of yourself, or you're out of here. We need someone that'll do the job. You don't have anyone to fire you and have that looming over your head that you need to trust the plan. And that's really what it's about. It's not really getting good at trading. Let's say you start a job and they put you through training in whatever it is that you're going to be trained on. Do they really expect you literally day one to know what you're doing for sure? Most of the time, no. There's a reason why they put you through the training. They not only aren't they sure that you know what to do when you walk in, but when they put you through their training, what do they say? They say, we're trying to break you of whatever habits you came here with too, in case you already do have experience somewhere else. I want you to do this job how we want you to do it, right? So it's kind of like that. It's like, it's not only that you're the one that has to hold yourself responsible for taking bad trades or doing the wrong thing. You also aren't 100% sure that you're even doing the right thing in the first place, right? How do you really gauge, I did the wrong thing? Well, how do you know you did the wrong thing? Well, I lost money, but how do you know you actually did the wrong thing? Did you actually follow your trade plan and still lost money anyway? And that's one of the 30 to 40% of trades in your plan that is supposed to lose, because a certain percentage of your trades you're going to lose no matter what. Or did you really lose because you broke your rules and you didn't actually follow a trading plan at all? And if you didn't follow your trading plan, why didn't you? That usually comes back to having no confidence in your own trading plan, doesn't it? You don't have the experience in it. You didn't do enough back testing. You didn't do enough of this, enough of that. And then that creeping feeling of, I need to make money and not lose money, keeps hitting your head as you're trying to be sure of yourself that your plan will work. And then when it doesn't work the first time, you're like, maybe it doesn't work at all. And then you start going on tangents, changing your plan mid-trade, all kinds of stuff. And it's bad. And I'm sure that a lot of people, like I said, can identify with this. There's probably a lot of people out there that are watching this that you all went through this, or you're going through it now, So the biggest issue I had was literally keeping my emotions in check, right? I currently, on YouTube, someone uploaded it for free. Not sure if that's legal to do or not. Doesn't matter to me. I don't know if it's open source. Doesn't matter to me. But there's this book that I listened to on YouTube very recently. I think it was called The Psychology of Trading. Someone uploaded it. It's 8 hours long. And that was eye-opening. It didn't matter how many different YouTubers or whoever else, or even other books about, analysis or anything else that I read or listened to or whatever. It didn't matter. Until I listened to this book, I really did not pull myself out of my rut at all. It basically kind of just told you, treat it like you have no choice but to trust yourself, right? You have no choice but to trust yourself. Trust your trade. Trust it no matter how hard it hurts. Just trust it. You don't. Why did you get in the trade if you didn't plan on trusting it in the first place? What's the worst that can happen? You lose anyway? You were already doing that, right? You were already doing that. So just trust the trade. Yeah. You know, like I said, you're already losing money anyway when you don't trust yourself, and all you're doing is driving yourself bonkers. So trust the trade. Pick a strategy, stick to it. Because if you do that, yes, you're going to still have some losers, probably even a majority of losers because you're new, right? But if you do that, then you can start to perfect one strategy, right? You know, you take this really dull rock and you try to sharpen it into something, you know, an actual tool, right? So that's what I did. When I first started, I actually had a very, very simple trade plan. I mean, this was like, you're probably thinking, wow, like he had it all figured out from the beginning, because like I'm actually back to doing this now and it's actually working. It was a very simple one. Put a simple moving average on the chart. When a time frame, you know, let's just as an example, let's say it's a 4-hour time frame. If it crosses above that line and then the candles rest upon it and then start bouncing again, you're probably finally in your uptrend and you can go long. If it slices back down below the line again, you gotta wait still. It might range for a while, and we know that ranging really just drives everyone nuts, right? But then when it finally, and then it might go lower again, then it might range for a while, it might go lower again, whatever it is, right? And then, but finally, when it pops up above that line, and then when it comes back down and rests upon it, so we now officially have our higher high and higher low, and it, you know, it actually, you know, bounces off that line, there's a good probability, high probability, that you're starting to head in the upward trend. Now, it's not obviously that simple. There's a few other things. I use one other thing called standard deviation channel to help. That's my version of relative strength index and all that other stuff, except it's done with an actual statistical, you know, measure over time of price action. So if you guys know what the standard deviation channel is, I'm sure most of you do, you should probably take a look at what it is, because I pretty much at this point just trade with a standard deviation channel and like 2 moving averages. One as like a slow trend signal and one as a faster, you know, buy and sell signal, right? I basically, not with the standard deviation at first, I didn't know that was a thing. I actually was with a broker that didn't even have it as an option, to be honest, at the beginning. But I actually had a few good trades when I first started. Like the very first 3 trades that I did were like practically amazing. And do you know what I did to make those trades good, aside from just use a simple moving average and that was about it? I did the one thing that pretty much all people tell you to do when you're finally done making yourself crazy, trying every possible, when you're done trying every single possible type of indicator that there is, right? Because everyone goes through that stage where they have to try every indicator out there. There's got to be the Holy Grail indicator, and trust me, I've spent months doing that to myself. But when I first started, like the very first trades I took were like, I did what everyone tells you to do when you're done messing with all that crap and you want to get serious. I traded support and resistance lines, like out the gate. Should have stuck with it, you know. I basically would intentionally just look for stocks that were ranging in a channel. Even if that channel was just sideways, I didn't care. Because if it was like a lower, you know, if it was like a somewhat highly volatile stock, you know, and this thing might move 20% within a couple days, and it's just reliably bouncing off this one lot, you know, number. If I see it bounce again, boom, I'm in. 2 days later, I've made 20%. Right? Obviously, though, anyone that knows what I'm talking about knows that it also might go lower. Of course, you got to be sure that it bounces. You don't just get in because it hits that support number. It might go lower. It's doing a multiple bottom and then going lower eventually. We're talking stocks that are literally at the bottom was kind of what I was trading. And I ended up finding out very quickly that's not a good idea to swing trade stuff that's bouncing at the bottom, or at least hold overnight, because I had a couple stocks burn me quick because they were like delisted, and I didn't even know that was a thing starting out. It was like all I had to do was hold the stock for 2 days, and the next day after I bought that stock, it got delisted. I got lucky because it was just kind of changed over to the OTC, I guess, and they changed the ticker. I lost like 30%. I lost like 50% on that stock in one day, and luckily I wasn't all in on my account. And on that one, that would have sucked. But so I didn't blow up my whole account. But that was one of my worst trades, and it kind of that started me on my path of where I lost 40% over 9 months. Anyway, so that happened to me, and then something else happened to me, and guess what I did? I kind of thought that this support and resistance thing was BS. I didn't trust it. Had a couple bad trades in it. I was new. I didn't, and blah 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 blah, and had to learn a lot from that afterwards. I do know now that support and resistance levels do work. I'm not a fan of waiting for them at exact numbers because I'm not an actual day trader. I can't sit and trade on the day. So I'm not going to be there right when it hits these support and resistance numbers. So I can't be there to be sure that it's actually going to bounce at the support, right? The best I could do is set a limit order to buy it at that support. But what if it falls through it, slices right through it? I mean, what kind of trading is that? So I ended up eventually, after we're talking, I tried every indicator out there. I was looking for the Holy Grail. And you want to know what's funny about looking for the Holy Grail? You guys can probably identify with this. Yeah, I'm sure everybody that can. You're not looking for the Holy Grail because you really think that you're going to have like this special line you put on the chart give you the edge that no one else in the whole world can see. Nobody really thinks that, right? You're looking for a cheat sheet. You're looking for an easy way out. You're looking for fast money that's easy to gain. And let me tell you something. You can just quit now doing that. There is no magic indicator that is going to make you money. There are indicators that you can use buy and sell signals on, but you will, no matter what indicator it is, have to start using it, take your licks, take your losses, and eventually learn the chart patterns that really mean get in. Like, I'll tell you what, almost every indicator at the end of the day is telling you the same thing, showing you the same thing. It's actually just showing you the price and volume that you're staring at anyway. But I use them too. I'm not trying to, rag on those. But at the end of the day, there's no point in searching for the Holy Grail of indicators because they're all showing you the same thing. Like the MACD, what's the MACD showing you? Especially showing you the difference between two moving averages, and you can still just put two moving averages on your chart, and you'd be looking at practically the same thing. And when they're like, well, it's kind of like ahead of it because if you look at it in comparison to that, it seems to time the market faster. It's almost like predicting, and I'm like, no, it isn't. It just reacts faster to the candlesticks. So if you, instead of waiting for a signal line to cross the MACD, just waited for the candlesticks to cross a moving average, that's actually faster. No, a crossover of moving average over moving average is not faster. That is super slow. You will get in the trade and out of the trade way too late. That is correct. But just using candlesticks over a moving average, well, that is an actual fast enough thing to trade, and that's what I do now. I don't even have anything else on there. RSI. if I put a standard deviation channel on there, it'll show me if it's oversold, just by being below the median line of its statistical, directional price averages, right? So that's really all the RSI is really showing you. Or even the MACD, when it goes below the 0 line, you plot the same chart, or you plot RSI and MACD on a chart, and then you literally put the standard deviation channel on there. Almost to the exact candle, you will see them all cross over at the same exact time that your standard deviation crosses over the 0 line. Why? Statistics. And so I like having them on the same chart. I don't want to look down at the RSI or the MACD or any of that kind of stuff. And I like that the standard deviation channel is very simplified in its concept, right? So I like having that I can just have it right there behind my graph of candlesticks. And then in the foreground is my moving average. And all I do is I wait for it to cross above it, rest upon it, and then when I go higher, is it, of course, always possible that it comes back down anyway? Sure. Matter of fact, I was just watching a trade. Not a trade. I was hoping. I've got a 9 to 5, like normal people do. I've got a 9 to 5 job. I got home, trying to look for an after-hours mover, and I found one that was moving, just not in the direction I wanted it to. Well, it was before I got home. I got home late and got down and taken a look at this at around like 5:30. And it was kind of doing this, after hours like this, and it was on its way down. So I watched it almost all the way till 8 p.m. and it just kept going lower, kept going lower, kept going lower. And, but when it bounces a little bit, sometimes it comes above that line. It even gives you a fake out bounce on that line. But I'm watching as the line is still almost like so obviously downward. Right? So, that's the whole point of choose an indicator, get really good with that indicator. Use it over and over and over again. Don't just go, oh, I had one bad trade with that indicator. It means it doesn't work. No, you don't work. You haven't had enough experience with this indicator to really know what does work. Right? So I don't just get in the very first time it pops above and bounces on the line. I also need that line to somewhat bottom out and flatten out too and look like it might head in the upward direction, which is like an overall sloping of the price kind of bottoming out. And that's what that signal line's telling you, right? Sometimes when you're looking at a downward trend, it's not so obvious that it's making this ball or this curve because you're just seeing this jagged. Sometimes it just looks like just a forever downward, it will never come back again thing. But once you put that moving average on there, you're like, ooh, look at that slope, right? So anyway, you then crosses above when it's at least flat or maybe starting to curve up. And when it hits there and it bounces, that's usually when I would get in and go long at that point. And yes, it so far seems to be working very well. But then again, there's a reason why I made this channel. I'm still new. I just now finally came across something that I actually truly believe works to where I think I can actually trust it. And even if I do have a bad trade, trust it anyway. Learn from the bad trade instead of the bad habits where you try to change your plan in the middle of the trade, so that would be the biggest lesson that I'm trying to learn right now is just trust it. And learn from the bad trade, not from the bad habits, right? I'm thinking that I will also set up a trade list. I want you guys to actually see my bad trades. I'm currently in 6 of them right now. One of them is like, okay. Full disclosure, it is 9:55 p.m. on March 2nd. March 1st, we finally had our big up day after all of these days of down. March 1st, 2021, okay? and everyone's been waiting for it. I mean, a lot of people are looking at all the same tickers. Everyone's been trying to pump up Palantir, PLTR, because ARK Investment was in it. Everyone's going nuts over this, right? And everyone's been waiting for the entirety of the SPY to just finally round out on the bottom and stop going lower. And we had a nice good green day yesterday, and today was like more of a consolidation, but still relatively neutral. But in after hours, everything is looking like it's probably going to turn into a relatively green day for tomorrow. Of course, I'm not ever fully sure of that. I'm new, and even people that are professionals are never really sure what the market's going to do the next day. But I'm in a trade where I was getting so tired of having bad trades that I was thinking, you know what, maybe I'll take the advice of this one YouTuber I saw where he said, put like 75% of your account in reliable, growth ETFs, and just leave them there. Leave that money there as a hedge against your horrible trading. So, and use like the other maybe 10 to 25% of your account, however it is you want to allocate it, for your actual trading until you can prove to yourself that you actually aren't horrible at this anymore and you have consistent wins. Then you can start trading with the rest of your account, but at least you're not blowing up your entire account as you horribly trade. I was about to start doing that, and I was about to start committing to it. And then, of course, in true egotistical trader fashion, like within 2 weeks, I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to trade with my whole account again. I'm ready to make money. I know what I'm doing now. You know what I mean? Well, anyway, it ended up being that I accidentally just put money in there and park it. Don't even think about it. So, of course, even though I'm not trading these particular tickers, I got into a couple of the ARK funds, and I got into LIT, growth ETF, and I got them at exactly the top for all three. It was like, the SPY, what was it, like 2 weeks ago, middle of February, the SPY was at its peak, and then we watched it sell off for 2 weeks straight. I mean, I literally put like a really big trailing stop loss of 15% on these growth ETFs, and the ARK ones both hit within 4 days. They stopped out. Like, wow. They both dropped 15%. And I'm over here like a trader, like, I thought I was supposed to be able to trust these growth ETFs to make me money. And meanwhile, the rest of the entirety of the entire world's going right now, like, we don't even know if this is like the next crash, so why are you doing that? Obviously, that's normal. I do know that the stock market generally is in an upward trend with deviations, right? And that if I had just timed the bottom, I wouldn't have felt that pain instead of literally timing the top. By the way, that psychology of a market cycle, I love that photo, the Wall Street cheat sheet, psychology of market cycle. It's my background on my computer. Disbelief, hope, optimism, belief, thrill, euphoria. Oh yeah. Oh, I've bought into euphoria, right? And never sold it panic though. I've got like this weird habit where it's like, if I actually made it down to panic, I'm like, I know it's going to bottom out, come back up, and I can at least try to get to break even or something like that. I know that seems like a weird thing, but it's like once you finally like let it go and you're just kind of like, all right, well, I really messed that up, but I already know it's going to come back, so I'll just let it come back, and that's fine. But somehow when you're up there and ready to take profit, you're incapable of doing so, especially when you're new. There's something about that greed that makes you stay in the trade way longer than you should, right? You're up there at euphoria, you're hitting complacency when you should sell out, and you're like, No, it's going to be another rally. It's going to be a bounce right here. It's just going to go to the moon forever. It's never going to come back down again. We're going to live on the moon now. Like, you know, when you're new, you do stupid shit like that. Even though you know it's completely irrational. You've done it to yourself a few times in a row. On the fourth time that you do it, you're like, why am I still doing this to myself? I've already learned from this, didn't I? Didn't I already go through this before? Nope. Nope, you just want yourself to struggle for fun, you know? Absolutely. There was talk about a healthy way of having negativity. Do you ever have that feeling like, wow, everything I buy goes down? Since I'm brand new and I suck that bad, maybe I should just always do the opposite of what I would do in a trade. When you tell yourself, okay, I would get in right now. Okay, instead go short. Right? What's funny about that is that I don't know if anyone else has ever had this problem. But like I said before, not to stroke my own ego or anything like that, but I felt like I could read a chart pretty darn well. Out the gate. No problem. No problem at all. It wasn't the ability to read exactly when to get in, or even in theory when to get out, that's my problem. For me, it's sticking to that and trusting it. There's just something about seeing a chart do almost exactly what this Wall Street cheat sheet says. The exact same pattern. And you're like, man, it looks exactly the same. All I gotta do is wait for the depression period to end. Buy when everyone else is still disbelieving. Sell when everyone's at euphoria. And there's just something about knowing you should do that and just being incapable of it. You know, like I said, I listened to that one book. It's really changed my mindset. It's kind of amazing because it's like it's kind of like actually having that parent that reinforces something that you know is the right thing to do, but you don't trust that it's the right thing to do, so you just let it roll and let it roll and let it roll and let it go against you, and then now you're like maybe selling at a loss, and you're like, how did we get here? And I will tell you this, the one thing that's gotten me many times, though, is that bull trap, you know? It hits bottom, you're thinking you're at the end of anger and depression or whatever, and it does that one spike, and then it goes lower again, like even lower. You're like, crap, and you sell out, and I hate this stock. And it's so funny because you end up learning later that bull trap happens to people all the time. It happens on almost every single stock too. So all you had to do was wait like 2 many days after you got time stocked out on the bull trap and just hit real bottom and then ride the baby all the way back up to the top. And sure, you might have lost 10% on the bull trap, whatever it is that you lost, but who cares, because you would have made like 200% gains on the actual ride back up. So it's like, but you're like, oh, I got stung by that one, I guess that's gonna go lower forever. No, it was just a bull trap. You just had to keep it on your watch list. It's probably gonna come right back in a few days. Anyway, that's it for now. First day entry of Diary of a Horrible Trader.